Well, welcome back to the kitchen here on Fat Daddy Sports. I am your Fat Daddy host, Craig, and we are currently on a mission right now trying to hit our first 100 subscribers here on YouTube. If you see anything in this video, you hear anything that you enjoy, let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really love to hit that first 100 subscribers. I love talking fantasy football with you guys, and anything that you guys want to see or talk about, let me know down in the comments. I'll be sure to go over it and we can discuss it on a future video. But today we are taking a look at the top 24 wide receivers. This is part 2, wide receivers 12 through wide receiver 1. We're looking at the top dogs in fantasy football, those guys that you can leave your draft with feeling comfortable as your wide receiver 1. Let's jump into it right now with wide receiver number 12 in Houston is Nico Collins, a guy who has kind of been up and down, really struggled to play every single game. We saw last year he had a pretty good year. CJ Stroud a little bit down in a Houston offense that struggled to score touchdowns. David Montgomery, the addition of him this offseason, I think is going to help that Houston team score more touchdowns. Nico could be a target hog, but I also, the return of Tank Dell coming in there, they've got some other key pieces at the wide receiver position. I still think Nico is the undisputed wide receiver 1 there, no doubt. I do think that Tank Dell playing is going to eat into Nico's targets a little bit. It's going to open up the field, but it's going to eat into his targets a little bit. I have him right at the cusp of that wide receiver 1 territory, and I think that's pretty fair. I mean, right now he is currently going as wide receiver 12 on Sleeper, so I'm right with consensus there. A guy that I still, if I leave the draft with him as my wide receiver 1, I still feel pretty good. I probably have some good running backs to go alongside of him. Somebody, as long as he's on the field, he's going to get a lot of points for you week in and week out. Currently going as wide receiver 11 on Sleeper right now, so I am a little bit lower than consensus, but still right there at the cusp of wide receiver 1. Somebody that if I leave the draft with him as my wide receiver 1, I feel pretty good. I probably have some good running backs around him to build from. So Nico Collins, wide receiver 12. Moving on to wide receiver 11. This is an offense that I'm excited to see how they produce this year. On paper, I want to be very excited about them, but I don't know when push comes to shove in my draft how high I'm going to go on the New Orleans Saints offense. Tyler Shuck throwing the ball around. Chris Olave, wide receiver 11 for the Saints. When he's on the field, he produces. I think, a guy that I haven't had too many shares of over the years. I've kind of tried to stay away from him a little bit, but this year I'm a little bit higher on that Saints offense. Obviously, Chris Olave just signed that massive extension with the Saints. Rookie Jordan Tyson is there now. He is an electrifying player, but also battling some injuries right now in training camp with that hamstring. It's something that's kind of just been nagging for him. We'll see how soon he's back out there for the Saints. But this season, I think Chris Olave is a good wide receiver 1. If you can get him as your wide receiver 2 and have him and somebody else above him on this list, 2 very good wide receiver options for you. Just ahead of him, and I may flip-flop these, we'll see, is Drake London. I'm a little nervous with that quarterback situation in Atlanta, but over the years, Drake London's been okay with a handful of different quarterbacks. The talent is there for Drake London. That's never really been a question. It's just been the situation and just going out and doing it from week to week. Last year, man, he was on fire at the start of the year for the Falcons, for my fantasy squad. I traded for him early in the year. He was kind of lackluster, and then he took off, and then he got hurt, and it just kind of all unravels from there. But somebody that I think is going to be inside that top 10 this year in the fantasy ranks. We'll see who's throwing him the ball. I mean, obviously Tua proved that he could support Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Little different skill sets there, but nonetheless, I think Tua could get Drake London the ball on a consistent basis, and Drake London could be a very valuable pick for you in the fantasy draft. Just ahead of him, I talked about his playing partner last episode in Dallas, and wide receiver 9 is CeeDee Lamb for me. I have him a little bit lower than consensus does. They have him at wide receiver 5 right now on Sleeper ADP. I have him at wide receiver 9. Pickens and him are going to go back and forth a lot this year. They're going to play a little bit tougher schedule, and that defense is going to be better. They're not going to need to be throwing quite as much this year. I could see that knocking CeeDee Lamb down just a little bit. He's going right now at the end of that first round. That makes me a little bit nervous. If I leave the draft with him as my first round draft pick, I feel a little bit nervous. He's obviously done it for a long time, and it feels like he's a lot older than he is. I'm always shocked when I see his age. I always think that he's a lot older, but CeeDee Lamb, the talent is there. The situation is there. His rapport with Dak Prescott obviously has proven to be elite over the years. I'm just a little nervous with George Pickens, and I think they're going to throw it a lot less this year. Next up on this list, somebody that we could all be wrong about this year. His ADP is starting to climb a little bit in drafts. He's looking a lot healthier than I think we all expected, and it's Malik Nabers in New York. I mean, the sky is the limit for Nabers. He could be the wide receiver one coming off the board. I mean, given the right situation, if he's not hurt, I think he is definitely a first round pick in fantasy football. An elite talent, had a massive game last year right before the injury. Looked like it was going to be an explosive year for Malik Nabers with that Jackson Dart connection. And then the injury set in, and I think we're talking about him in a way different tone this year. If you can buy the injury dip on Malik Nabers in your draft, if you can get him in that third round, I think it's going to pay off big time this year moving forward. An elite young wide receiver stud that you could get in the third round and pair with two stud running backs in the first round. I'm all for that. He's kind of going in the beginning of the third round. So if you could get one of those top running backs, obviously if you could get Jameer or Bijan, but even McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, and then pair them with somebody like a Chase Brown in the second round and then still get Malik Nabers in the third, man, I think that's a dynamite start to your draft. If he's there week one, he is going to get so many targets this year in that offense for the Giants. I'm looking for big things out of Malik Nabers. Next up on this list is a wide receiver who is currently going as wide receiver 6. I have him as wide receiver 7, just a little bit lower on him because I'm higher on some other guys around him, but it's Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. We got the news this week that Kyler Murray is the unquestioned starter in Minnesota. And I think that was always kind of expected, but I also think that that's big news for Justin Jefferson. Kyler Murray has shown that he can play. He can get his wide receivers the ball. They're in Arizona with DeAndre Hopkins, and I think Justin Jefferson is going to see a ton of targets this year. The touchdowns are going to come back up, and we're going to all remember that Justin Jefferson is an elite talent. Somebody with the right quarterback could be going as wide receiver 1 easily right now. I personally think he's the best wide receiver in the game. He just hasn't had the best luck with quarterbacks so far in his career. On to number 6 is in Kansas City, and it is Rashee Rice. Big if, but if he is out there for all 17 games, he's going to score a lot of points. We've seen it in every game that he's played in. He gets the ball in the most crazy ways, and they find ways to just force feed him the ball. He is PPR gold. If you're in a PPR or even a half PPR league, draft Rashee Rice. He's going in that early third round right now. He's going around guys like Malik Nabers, but man, he's a sure thing. You're going to get a lot of points out of him. He's going to score touchdowns for this Chiefs offense, and he's the unquestioned wide receiver 1 in Kansas City, a team that really is lacking wide receiver play. I mean, he's going to get some work from the defense, but Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy are very good at finding ways of getting him open, getting him the ball, and he's got Pat Mahomes throwing to him. I mean, it's not like he's catching those deep passes where Mahomes has struggled over the years. He's catching those short intermediate passes, and Mahomes is dynamite on those routes. On to number 5. Sleeper ADP has him currently at wide receiver 8. I have him at wide receiver 5, and it is A.J. Brown, the new Patriot. Sky is the limit for A.J. Brown. I may be too low on that. I think the deep ball with Drake May is going to light the league on fire this year. he's going to be catching touchdowns each and every week, multi-touchdown games. He's going to have so many receiving yards. A.J. Brown is a steal in that early third round, late second round where he is currently going. I think he could definitely be in that early second round, maybe even up into the first round, an elite talent. I know that there's been a lot made the last year or two about maybe he's lost a step, this and that. He's going to be fine. He's going to get that deep pass from Drake May and take it to the house and remind everybody that he is an elite wide receiver in this league, regardless of his antics and reading his book on the sideline, whatever. You can say whatever you want. He's going to light the league on fire this year. I am trying to get A.J. Brown in as many drafts as I can. And at wide receiver 4, I have him down one spot from his sleeper ADP currently, and it is last year's breakout star, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Dynamite player, absolutely elite, has Sam Darnold throwing him the ball. I think that connection is going to be very good again this year. I'm a little worried without Clint Kubiak there in Seattle. That's my only knock. I'm a little worried about their run game with Zach Charbonnet coming back from injury, and now Jadarian Price, the rookie, is also dealing with some injury, but also he's a rookie. We'll see if that run game is as good as it was last year. That defense is going to be pretty good, but I think that their offense is going to get a lot different looks this year. And without Clint Kubiak there drawing up the plays, we'll see how good they can be. I just knocked him down one spot. JSN is an elite talent. You're not going to go wrong if you select him in the first round. Moving up to number 3, a guy that is currently going as wide receiver 4. So I just have these two guys flipped, and that is Amon-Ra St. Brown, somebody who does not get his flowers. He does not get the respect that he is due in the fantasy circles, I don't believe. And I think part of that is maybe he's overshadowed by that run game in Detroit. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously going as the running back 1, the number 1 overall player. I just think that Amon-Ra has been so consistent over his career. He doesn't miss games. You know that if you have him on your team, he's your wide receiver 1. You don't have to worry all year. He plays through everything. And when he's on the field, he catches so many passes and scores so many points on a weekly basis. He is somebody that I would die to have on my team. If I could get him early in that first round or middle of that first round, I am ecstatic. If I'm at the later part of the first round and he falls to me, I'm scooping him up all day, every day. And at wide receiver 2 is a guy who, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, it's a toss up. I'm going to give the slight edge to the guy who plays with his college quarterback, younger quarterback. I'm going to put number 2, Puka Nacua. I already talked about it a little bit, and just the off the field stuff that Puka has going on right now, may be facing a suspension. He's also got Devontae Adams there, but it is very interesting when you look at the numbers between Puka Nacua and Jamar Chase over their last few seasons. Almost identical. Puka is actually leading those stats in most categories, but pretty identical. Really what he has come onto the scene and done is pretty remarkable when you figure he was kind of a no-name guy in a lot of fantasy circles just a few years ago. And as training camp went on, he got more and more steam. And then, if you were lucky enough to have him on your team, he just took the entire league by storm that first year and hasn't really ever looked back. Puka Nacua, an excellent pick in that first round. The only concern is if he misses any time, but if he does, it's going to be minimal at the beginning of the year. It's not going to lose you your season. Puka Nacua is a great first-round pick. And then at wide receiver 1 is, in my opinion, the undisputed wide receiver 1 in fantasy football, playing along Joe Burrow. Only concern there is Joe Burrow's health. He's obviously missed a lot of time over the years, but when healthy, the Bengals offense is superb. Jamar Chase scores so many points, and I think that's going to be the case this year. I could see Jamar having a big season this year, and I would take him easily at that wide receiver 1 position. But that is all I've got for you guys today. That rounds out my top 24 wide receivers. Let me know down in the comments, who did I miss on? Who did I forget? Who would you have put at wide receiver 1? Let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Try to help us get to that first 100 subscribers. And I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.